Hello students, welcome in quantum mechanics class. In this lecture we will talk about the tunnel effect or the article entitled potential barrier of finite width and height. You are very familiar with the alpha particle emission by some radioactive nuclei, which is a very good example of tunnel effect. So what is tunnel effect? We will learn or we will discuss in this lecture. So we consider a potential barrier who has a finite width and finite height. So suppose we have a barrier. In this region at x is equal to 0 along this axis, it is x-axis, and at this point x is equal to a. So we have the width of this barrier is a, and in this region v is equal to 0, and in this region v is equal to 0. So we divide it in three regions: region 1, region 2 and region 3. In region 1 and in region 3 the potential is 0. That means there is no force acting on the particle. That means particle is free. But as the particle reaches at x equal to 0, there is some finite height. So some finite height is, let the potential is v equal to v naught in form of this potential. So this is the height v naught, and we consider that the particle whose energy is less than this height. So suppose E is the energy of the particle. So first we consider the classical view. Classically, when we have a ball and it strikes on this barrier and the height of ball is less than the height of this barrier, then ball is reflected at the boundary of the barrier. That means ball is reflected back in the region 1 and there is no chance of penetrating the ball into region 1, or we can say that there is zero transmission. That means no transmission. That means particle is not found in region 3. But quantum mechanically we will see what will happen when particle strikes at x equal to 0. What is the probability of transmission and in the region 3. So first we define this potential. This potential is Vx because it is a function of x is equal to 0. V is 0 for x is less than 0. V is equal to V naught, that is the height of this barrier when it is 0 is less than x is less than a. That means in the region 0 to a the height of barrier is V naught, and it is again 0 for x is greater than a. In this way we will define the potential barrier who has a finite width and finite height. So the examiner can ask this question in three ways. First is the potential barrier of finite width and finite height. Second is potentially defined by Vx equal to 0, V naught and 0 with these conditions. Third is what is tunnel effect, and discuss it. So there are three ways to ask this question. So classically we have find out, or you know very well, that the particle in region 1 can move freely because the potential in the region 1 is 0, V is equal to 0, there is no retardation, and the energy of the particle is less than the potential height, so it cannot penetrate the region 2 and it is reflected back into region 1. That means particle is not transmitted in region 3. Now we will look at the quantum mechanical aspect of this potential barrier of finite width and height. Quantum mechanically the potential is independent of time. It is a function of x only. So we will consider the time independent Schrödinger wave equation, which is d square psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cut square e minus v into psi is equal to 0. This is equation number 1. Now in region 1 V is equal to 0. So in region 1 V is equal to 0. We have d square psi upon dx square. I will substitute V is 0. It is 2m upon h cut square e into psi equal to 0. If I consider 2me upon h cut square as k1 square, then this expression can be written as d square psi upon dx square plus k1 square into psi is equal to 0. So this is equation number 2. So the solution of this equation is psi equal to a exponential iota k1x plus b exponential minus iota k1x, because equation 2 is a second order differential equation and solution of this standard equation is this. So this is the solution in reason 1, so I will write it as psi 1. So this is equation number 3. So we know what is k1. So this is the incident part and this is the reflected part. As in the reason 1, as particle which is at x equal to 0, there is something that will be responsible or that can be a cause of the reflection of the particle or the wave. So we consider all the components, incident and reflection, reflected component. Now in reason 2, we have v equal to v naught. So we will substitute v equal to v naught in equation 1. We have d square psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cut square v naught E minus v naught into psi is equal to 0. Since the energy of the particle is less than the potential height, so we will rearrange this expression as d square psi upon dx square plus iota square. Negative is common here, so I write it as negative as iota square. 2m upon h cut square, it is v naught minus e into psi equal to 0. So now I can consider k2 square is equal to 2m v naught minus e upon h cut square, as I consider k1 square is this. So now this is d square psi upon dx square plus iota k2 square into psi is equal to 0. Let it be equation number 4. Now equation 4 is very similar to equation 2, only k1 is replaced by iota k2. So solution of this equation 4th is again standard equation. Psi is equal to c exponential iota k2 into x plus d exponential minus iota k2x, but I had replaced k1 with iota k2. Okay, so because this is the standard solution. So this is in reason 2, so I write the wave function psi 2. So psi 2 is equal to c exponential minus k2x plus d exponential k2x. So this is equation number 5. So now in the reason 3, potential is again 0, particle is free, you can say, if in this reason. So the expression 1 can be rewritten as in reason 3 as d square psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cut square. I substitute v equal to 0, e into psi equal to 0. This is equation number 6. So 6th equation is very similar to this equation. So I will again substitute k1 square as 2m e upon h cut square. So this is d square psi upon dx square plus k1 square into psi equal to 0. What is k1? K1 is 2m e upon h cut square, k1 square is this. So this is like equation number 2. The solution of equation number 2 is psi equal to, instead of e we write f. These are arbitrary constant. We will find out f exponential iota k1x plus g exponential minus iota k1x. This is equation number 7. Now this is the solution in reason 3. So this is the wave function of particle in reason 3. I denoted psi 3. So in the reason 3, there is nothing from which the wave is reflected, or there is nothing which causes the reflection of the wave in reason 3. So I will omit the term exponential minus iota k1x because it represents the reflected part and it represents the propagation of wave along the x-axis positive in its positive direction. So I omit this term because there is nothing in region 3 that can cause the reflection of the wave. So finally we have psi 3 is equal to f exponential iota k1x. So this is equation number 8. So finally we have solutions of the Schrodinger wave equation in region 1, 2 and 3, and we have arbitrary constants a, b, c, d and f, and we will find out these arbitrary constant by using the boundary condition. So first I write all these expressions on right hand side so that we can find out the solutions later. So psi 1 is a exponential iota k1x plus b exponential minus iota k1x, and psi 2 is equal to c exponential minus k2x plus d exponential k2x, and this was equation number 3, this was equation number 5, and psi 3 as we have f exponential iota k1x, this was equation number 8, and what is this k1 and k2? K1 is square root 2me upon h cut square, and k2 is square root 2mv0 minus e upon h cut square. So this is k1 and k2. I had write these things on the right hand side so that we can use later. Now with the help of boundary condition we will find out the arbitrary constants a, b, c, d and f. So boundary condition is at x equal to 0 the wave function is continuous, and x equal to a the wave function is continuous, and the first order derivative of the wave function at x equal to 0 should be continuous, and x equal to a should also be continuous. So this is the boundary condition. So psi 1, because the wave function in region 1 is equal to the wave function in region 2 x at x equal to 0. Psi 2 at x equal to 0. Now the second boundary condition is the wave function in region 2 is equal to the wave function in region 3 at x equal to a. So this is the condition for a well-behaved wave function. It should be continuous at the boundaries. So psi 2 at x equal to a is equal to psi 3 at x equal to a. Now what is psi 1? Psi 1 in equation 3 we have a exponential iota k1 into 0 plus b exponential minus iota k1 into 0 is equal to psi 2. Psi 2 is c exponential minus k2 into 0 plus d exponential k2 into 0. So this is 0 multiplied. I have substituted the value of x. So it is a plus b is equal to c plus d. So this is from the first boundary condition. So I write it as equation number, this is 9, so this is 10. Now at x equal to a, I will substitute the value of x as a. Psi 2 at x equal to a, this is c exponential minus k2a plus d exponential k2a is equal to psi 3, this is f exponential plus iota k1 into a. So from here we can write c plus c exponential minus k2a plus d exponential k2a is equal to f exponential iota k1a. So let it be equation number 11. So this is from the second boundary condition. So now another boundary condition is, as we discussed, the first order derivative of the wave function should also be continuous at the boundaries. That means d psi 1 upon dx at x equal to 0 is equal to d psi 2 upon dx at x equal to 0. And another boundary condition is the wave function at x equal to a. The first order derivative wave function at x equal to a should also be continuous. That means d psi 2 upon dx at x equal to a is equal to d psi 3 upon dx at x equal to a. So now we will take the derivative of psi 1 with respect to x from equation 3. It is iota k1 a exponential iota k1. I am substituting the value of x equal to 0 minus iota k1 b exponential minus iota k1 into 0 is equal to d psi 2 is minus k2 c exponential minus k2 into 0 plus k2 into d exponential k2 into 0. So from here we have iota k1a minus iota k1b is equal to minus k2c plus k2d, or we can rearrange it as a minus b is equal to minus k2 upon iota k1 c minus d. So we can further rearrange it as a minus b is equal to iota k2 upon k1 c minus d, because minus is iota square, or you can say square of iota is minus 1. So this is expression number 12. Now from this boundary condition, the first order derivative of d psi 2 equal to first order derivative d psi 3. So first order derivative is from equation 5, it is minus k2 c exponential minus k2 into 0 plus k2 d exponential k2 into 0 is equal to, now it is at x equal to a. So I have substituted the value of x as a equal to iota k1 f exponential iota k1, the value of x is a. So from here we can write c exponential minus k2a minus d exponential k2a is equal to iota k1 upon minus k2 f exponential iota k1a, or we can write it as k1 upon iota k2 f into exponential iota k1a is c exponential minus k2a minus d exponential k2a. So this is equation number 13. So from here we have the expressions for getting the values or getting the arbitrary constants a, b, c and d in term of f. So finally we have like this, or from here it is better if we write this as minus c exponential minus k2a plus d exponential k2a is equal to iota k1 upon k2 f exponential iota k1a. So this is equation number 13. This is the rearrangement of above equation. So now we will find out the values. Now if we are adding or subtracting these two expressions, we will get the values of c and d and a and b. Now from expression 11 and 13, if we add and if we subtract these two expressions 11 and 13, we will get the value of c and d in term of f. And from equation 10 and 12 we will find out the value of a and b in term of c and d, and we find from here the value of c and d in term of f, and substitute here we will get the value of a and b in term of f. So first we have to add equation number 11 and 13. So we get this term is cancelled with this. So finally we have 2d exponential k2a is equal to f exponential iota k1a is common, 1 plus iota k1 upon k2. From here we can write d is equal to f by 2 exponential iota k1a exponential minus k2a into 1 plus iota k1 upon k2. So this is equation number 14. So we find out d in term of f. And now when we subtract the expression 14 from 11, expression 13 from 11, we have the term c is cancelled and c is added and d is cancelled. So we have 2c exponential minus k2a is equal to f is common, exponential iota k1a is common, and we have 1 minus iota k1 upon k2. So finally we have c equal to f upon 2 exponential iota k1a 1 minus iota k1 upon k2 into exponential k2a. So this is the value of c. So this is equation number 15. So we have from expression 14 and 15 we have c and d in term of f. Now we will substitute the value of c and d in equation 10 and 12. So now first I write equation 10, 12, 11, 13, 14 and 15 on one side so that we can use it later. Now we will substitute the value of c and d from 14 and 15 in equation number 10 and 12. So we will get a and b. So a plus b is equal to, the value of c is f by 2 exponential iota k1a, it is 1 minus iota k1 upon k2 exponential k2a plus the value of d is f upon 2 from equation 14 exponential iota k1a, it is 1 plus iota k1 upon k2 exponential minus k2a. So we will simplify this expression. So we have f by 2 is common, exponential iota k1a is common. So we have exponential k2a from here, and from here it is exponential minus k2a. Then from this term it is minus iota k1 upon k2 exponential k2a, and from this term it is plus iota k1 upon k2 exponential minus k2a. Now when we simplify it, this is exponential k2a exponential theta plus exponential minus theta. So we will write it as cos hk2a. So it is f exponential iota k1a, 2 is inside the square bracket, so we can write it as like this. So here it is upon 2. So this is cos hk2a, and from here we will get the common minus iota k1 upon k2. In the bracket we have exponential k2a minus exponential minus k2a upon 2, and in this expression we can write it as f exponential iota k1a cos h k2a, and this is minus iota k1 upon k2 sin h k2a. So it's better if you write this expression like this. So this is a plus b. Now we get a minus b. So to find out a minus b, we will put the value of c and d in equation 12. From equation 14 and 15, we will have a minus b is equal to eta k2 upon k1, and the value of c is from equation 15 f by 2 exponential eta k1a 1 minus eta k1 upon k2 exponential k2a. This is the value of c minus, now we will substitute the value of d as f by 2 from equation 14 exponential eta k1a 1 plus eta k1 upon k2 exponential minus k2a. Now we will simplify this expression. So f is common, exponential eta k1a is common, so we have f exponential eta k1a is common, so we have eta k2 upon k1 upon 2 from here, and from here it is minus eta k1 upon k2 into eta k2 upon k1 into 2. This 2 is like here, and we have to multiply this with exponential k2a, and f is common, exponential k1a is common, so we have minus, from here it is eta k2 upon k1 into 2 plus eta k1 upon k2 into eta k2 upon k1 exponential minus k2a as it is, and the term 2 is introduced here, so it is eta by 2. F exponential eta k1a, so this is k2 by k1 eta k2 by 2 k1, and this k2 is cancelled with this is cancelled with this, eta is minus, so minus is plus 1 by 2 exponential k2a minus, from here it is eta k2 by 2 k1, and from here it is eta minus k2 and k1 are cancelled, so we have 1 upon 2 exponential minus k2a. So we will further simplify it as f exponential eta k1a. We have eta k2 upon 2 k1 as common, so it is exponential k2a. It is better to keep 2 inside, and from here it is minus exponential minus k2a, and from this expression plus exponential k2a, and from here it is plus exponential minus k2a upon 2. So this is exponential theta minus exponential minus theta upon 2, so this is sin h k2a, and this term is cos h k2a. So we have a plus b as, I will write a plus b is equal to f exponential eta k1a. So this first term is eta k2 upon k1, in the bracket it is exponential theta minus exponential minus theta upon 2, it is sin h k2a, and here it is plus cos h k2a. So let it be equation number, so this is 16 and this is 17. So I rewrite equation 16 here. A minus b is equal to f exponential iota k1a, and in the bracket it is cos h k2a minus iota k1 upon k2 sin h k2a. This is equation number 16. This is equation number 16. So we have a plus b and a minus b in term of f. Now we will get a and b in term of f from equation 16 and 17 after adding and subtracting these two expressions. When we are adding expression 16 and 17, we have 2a is equal to f exponential iota k1a as common. We have 2 cos h k2a, and here sin h k2a is common, plus sin h k2a is common, and we have iota k2 upon k1 minus iota k1 upon k2 common. So we have a is equal to f exponential iota k1a, this is cos h k2a, plus iota by 2 k2 upon k1 minus k1 upon k2 into sin h k2a. So this is the value of a in term of f. And when we subtract the expression 17 from 16, we have 2b is equal to f exponential iota k1a as common. Now we are subtracting 17 from this, so cos h k2a is cancelled. So we have minus iota k1 upon k2 sin h k2a minus iota k2 upon k1 sin h k2a, and we can rearrange it as minus common, iota is common, f upon 2 exponential iota k1a. In the square bracket we have sin h is also common, we have k1 upon k2 plus k2 upon k1 into sin h k2a. Sin h basically sine hyperbolic. So we have minus iota upon 2 f exponential iota k1a, k1 upon k2 plus k2 upon k1 sin h k2a. We have the solutions in this form. So we have find out the value of b as this. In expression 3, 5 and 7, this is incident part, this is reflected part, and in this part this is the propagating part along the x-axis. So that means this is the incident wave, this is the reflected wave in region 1, and this is the transmitted wave, psi 3 in the equation 8. So we have a and b, and psi incident as psi incident equal to a exponential iota k1a. I am writing this from equation 3, and psi reflected is b exponential minus iota k1x, and psi transmitted is f exponential iota k1x. Now we will find out the reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient, so that we can find out the behavior of the particle quantum mechanically and compare it with the classical view. So we will find out the probability current density. So the reflection coefficient R is defined as reflection probability density current divided by incident probability density current. So reflection probability density current R, reflected wave is in the region 1, so velocity is v1. Suppose in region 1 velocity is v1, and in region 2 velocity is v2, and in region 3 velocity is v3. So the reflection coefficient R is v1 psi reflection into psi star reflection divided by v1 psi incident into psi star incident. So we can substitute the values. v1 is cancelled with v. Psi reflection is b exponential minus iota k1x b star complex conjugate exponential iota k1x, and in the denominator incident it is a exponential iota k1x, and it is a star exponential minus iota k1x. So finally we have b star upon a star. So this is the reflection coefficient R. Now we will find out by substituting the value of b and a in this expression. So we have b is this term, so this is minus iota f by 2 exponential iota k1a k1 upon k2 in plus k2 upon k1 into sin h k2a. This is b, and now the complex conjugate of b, that is b star, it is iota is replaced by minus iota, so it is minus minus plus iota minus, so it is minus f upon 2 exponential minus iota k1a. Iota is replaced by minus iota, so it is plus, and this is k1 upon k2 plus k2 upon k1 into sin h k2a divided by this a is from this expression f exponential iota k1a cos h k2a plus iota by 2 k2 upon k1 minus k1 upon k2 into sin h k2a, and the complex conjugate is f star, here is also star, f star exponential minus iota k1a and cos h k2a minus iota by 2 k2 by k1 minus k1 by k2 into sin h k2a. So this is we have written, or the substitute the value of a and a star. After little simplification, I am writing the direct solution. If you have any problem, you can ask me. I will explain further in another lecture or in another video. So I am writing the direct solution. R is equal to, so this is R. Similarly, we find out the transmission coefficient T, which is the ratio of transmission probability density current to incident probability density current, and finally we will get the T as T is equal to, transmission is in region 3, so it V3 psi transmission into psi star transmission divided by incident is in region 1, V incident psi incident into psi star incident. So finally we have V3 psi transmitted is F star upon incident is A star. So we will substitute the value of A star in term of F star, and after simplification we will get T equal to 1 upon. So if we substitute the value of K1 and K2, then we have T equal to. So this is the transmission coefficient, and finally we have T is not equal to 0. Hence we can say the particle has certain probability to transmit in the region 3 after penetrating the barrier. That means after penetrating the region 2, which is in contradiction to classical mechanics. Classical view, the particle is not penetrating in the region 2 and there is no transmitted particle. The particle is reflected back into region 1 because the height of the barrier is greater than the energy of the particle. But quantum mechanically we have predicted that the particle has certain probability to get transmit in region 3. So if particle is impinging on a barrier with energy less than the height of the potential barrier, it will not necessarily be totally reflected by the barrier, but there is always a probability that it may cross the barrier and continue its forward motion. So if this is the reference line and particle propagates like, so this is the way how particle can be transmitted in region 3. So that is the probability, certain probability of transmission of particle in region 3. The probability of particle in region 3, the amplitude is less in comparison to region 1. So the tunnel effect can be understood in terms of the uncertainty principle also. If we say that the independent particle cannot enter the barrier, then the uncertainty delta x in its position must be 0. But since delta x delta px is greater than equal to 0, uncertainty principle delta x delta px is greater than equal to h cut upon 2, and if we say the delta x is 0, the corresponding uncertainty delta p in particle momentum must be infinite inside the barrier. An infinite uncertainty means p and e must be infinite, which is not compatible with finite momentum and energy of particle. Therefore particle must be able to enter the barrier, and once inside it has the probability of continuing on. So tunnel effect, the very beautiful example of tunnel effect is the alpha particle emitted by the radioactive elements. Thank you for watching.